Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Just came back from a brief vacation, but now I'm here ready to grind again. And I'm bringing you guys a mech video, a TVZ mech video. I've gotten a few requests for mech builds in the past, and then honestly, just at the pro level, mech is really not that great. And I was grinding out some games, trying to get, climb and whatnot, so I wasn't really playing mech. But I decided to do a mech video today, and so I played this game here, this TVZ. Now, the opener is going to be a pretty standard 3cc Banshee, and then it'll deviate to mech. So before we get to that, I do want to talk about TVZ mech in general. TVZ mech in general, there's a couple of builds out there that you can do. In the past, we've seen things like BC openers. That was once really popular. You'd build like 1 or 2 BCs, maybe you get up to 4 actually, and then you could go into mech. Or if you were crazy, some people would build more than 4 BCs. For a while, there was also, and you can still do this, double factory opener, something that I did a lot actually in the past. For those of you who may not be familiar, when I was pro gaming, I did play a good amount of mech actually. I was a big mech simp, especially late game mech stuff. So I will say I think I have a bit of a good knowledge base, good experience in the past playing mech. Now I'll try to do videos on those other builds because they are different stylistically, and they're pretty fun honestly. I really enjoy doing them, even if it's not really great at the top level. But mech is really good in the diamond to like lower GM level. And if you're looking to climb or you just like playing mech, then honestly, definitely doable. So like I said earlier, this is gonna be a 3cc Banshee, and what we're gonna do differently are, well, a couple of things. Obviously, we're gonna play mech, and we're gonna build a few more Banshees. So the way you do this, and you'll see in just a bit here, is that I will go 2 gases before adding my production. So usually when you do 3cc bio with Cloak Banshee, you're going to build your 2nd and 3rd barracks first, right? Then followed by 2 more gases, your last 2 gases, followed by double engineering bay. In this case, what you're going to do is you're going to take those 2 gases first and then add your factories. So you'll have 4 gases on 111. Okay. And the reason why we're doing that is probably pretty obvious, right? You're playing mech, so you do need a lot of gas. The other thing is, I'm a big fan of playing 4 Banshee with Cloak and Banshee speed, because you want to be safe against early aggression, and there are some really strong Ravager timings that people will do if they scout that you're playing mech pretty quickly, and they'll try to all-in you. Okay, it's usually about 60-65 drones, and it's a pretty hefty all-in. Some people even bring their queens with the Overlord and all that bad stuff, almost like good stuff. But there are ways around that. First one being Banshees are very helpful, so having multiple of those is great. And then the other thing I'll talk about in a little bit is actually building 2 tanks from your factories before going for cyclones, okay? And that's a really important thing because you really need tanks to set up a foundation. So if you decide you want to do, which in this game I'll play, Siege Tank into Hellion Cyclone, with map control, right? A bit more of aggressive style of mech. You need to have those early tank count built up so that you don't die to something. If your Hellions and Cyclones get overrun or something happens where you lose the units in general, you want to have those siege tanks defensively. Okay. So as you can see here, this is pretty straightforward, right? Looking like a classic 111 Banshee, a Cloak Banshee 3cc. I like to pretend that I'm going into bio. Oh, and here you'll see me take my gases actually. So I have a gas in my main, or both gases in my main, both gases in my natural, 111. Here I noticed this person built a lot of Zerglings, and generally speaking, this early in the game, you don't really want to build that many lings because you just have queens. Like you can, a higher level player can defend Hellion pressure with just queens. You don't really need to build that many Zerglings. So when I saw this, I said, okay, I'm going to stay home with my Hellions instead. I already know this person's not really droning that much, or they've just used some they've just built lings over drones, and then most likely they're gonna want to do a run by. That's exactly what happens here. Get a nice trade going off the start. and having those additional Hellions really helps out. And then as I said earlier, usually I will build a tech lab with the barracks to make it look like I'm playing bio, but then I'll switch into mech. I have already killed that first overlord, which that first overlord saw that I was building a tech lab on my barracks. And so then now here I can basically maybe get away with a little bit of, oh, this guy's playing bio, you know, until they scouted it again. In this case, he followed up scouts pretty quickly. I imagine having built 8 Hellions looked kind of suspect. And then I think he went up the ramp as well, so he probably saw the barracks was lifted from the tech lab and was like, hey, you're not researching STEM. So at this point, we have 3 factories, right? So as I said earlier, you take all your gases, you build double factory. And then once you have 3 factories, you're going to go Armory eBay. Okay, so as you can see here, I built Armory eBay. And this is pretty important because there are levels to this, okay, in regards to greed. So I'm usually on the safer side of things. I will go triple factory, 1 armory, followed by 2 more factories for a total of 5 factories. And I'll be researching upgrades off that 1 armory, okay? Now, if you want to be very greedy, maybe it's a big map, maybe you're trying to go for the late game here, then you can go 3 factory, double armory, 4th CC. Okay, and so you kind of have some choices of how you can play this out, but generally that's how you want to approach it. In this case, because I'm going to play Hellion Cyclone, I want to have more factories to produce units faster, but then I also want to have armor upgrades for sustainability. I want my Hellions to survive a little bit longer. I want my Cyclones to survive a little bit longer because Cyclones are pretty fragile, right? And the lock-on doesn't benefit from attack upgrades, so it doesn't really make sense for me to go for attack upgrades when most of the damage that I'm doing from my Cyclone lock-on doesn't feature upgrades or doesn't need upgrades, right? Here you'll see me build some turrets. This is just because I haven't really scouted, so I dropped some scans. I saw that he was taking all these gases, but I wasn't really sure if it was mutas. You'll see I'll scan, I'll finally confirm, oh, it's Hydras, and then I'll try to cancel these turrets. But you really want to be on top of that because you really want to know how soon they're coming if they're going mutas, so you can start that Cyclone production ASAP and then build whatever turrets you need. But as I said, in this case, we scout, okay, that's a lot of Hydras. So we're going to stop Banshee production. Now we're going to focus on the ground units, okay? If he was playing Roach Ravager or something like that, you know, I might build a few more Banshees, definitely. I think I'd go like 6, 7 Banshees. But here, obviously, that doesn't really make sense. And you can see how shitty it was for my Banshees there when I took that fight, or that trade. So I stopped. Now here, this is where I talk about siege tanks. Defending this without siege tanks would be extremely hard. Also, I'm supply blocked, which is pretty bad. Okay, there you go. So here, and I have that depot in the corner, by the way, so you can actually see... I can actually see if they're trying to surround me, and there I see, okay, he was definitely going to surround me. But having siege tanks here is great, and it really helps with the banelings as well. So he's pushing. I'm getting a lot of free Hydras here. Like, that's really good for me. I'm getting a lot of lings. I'm backing up because I'm kiting, but then I have these siege tanks that I can start target firing the banelings, but then also really help with the Hydras, right? Because as we said earlier, our units are pretty fragile, and as you can see here, despite there not being that many Hydras, he's actually able to kill a good amount of my Banshees with some focus fire, as well as my Cyclones. And so that's why you want those initial like 2-3 anchor tanks that really help you hold down the fort. Now I'm going to go ahead and expand behind this. And I'm going to go ahead and then, you know, try to take this gas. I took this base because it's the rich gas. It's a little bit easier to defend. So while I'm not going to get extra gas now, as soon as I finish mining that mineral that's blocking it, I'll be able to benefit from that. And obviously I've gotten a good trade here, so it's okay. And I probably wouldn't attack directly after this. I think that's kind of one of the hard parts with Mech, is it's hard to gauge exactly. You know, yeah, I got a good trade, but I also don't have that many units left over. And if I just decide to counterattack with all my units, they're really expensive and I could lose them all. So I'm gonna take my advantage with me and just progress in the game. So I'm gonna add extra factories, going up to 8. Okay, and I recommend going up to 8 regardless of whether or not you're playing slow Mech or this Cyclone Mech. I was like, man, is there a word for this? I can't remember. So here, because I'm going Cyclone Mech, I definitely want to have the extra factories. I can produce these inexpensive Mech units pretty quickly and then just continue to trade. You'll see that I added a Ghost Academy with my second armory. That's for Vipers as well as Lurkers. So if I need to build Ghost, I can actually build them. And if you've seen some pro games, you've probably seen people do this, where they eventually go into Ghost while playing Mech, and that's pretty normal actually. And you definitely need them. So if you're going into late game, just keep that in mind. It's okay to build Ghost, and I in fact recommend it. It's gonna make life easier. So here, I'm nearing max out, and I'm gonna just start building some extra command centers, thinking about getting more orbitals, taking a 5th. And then with my Hellion Cyclone Widow Mine, I'm going to use this to start trading with the Lingbane Hydra. Okay? Again, continue to scout. Continue to make sure that you don't get caught off guard by tech switches. Try to do run-bys when you can. You'll see me harass whenever possible. Okay? That's a really big thing. Just because you're turtling with Mech doesn't mean you shouldn't attempt to harass. Okay? Try to do Hellion run-bys, Liberator, Siege, even like Widow Mines. Anything really, just try to mitigate the Zerg economy while you continue to expand on yours and, solidify your defenses. Again, if you're a bio player, this is probably a very resident sleeper, but this is a dedicated video to my Mech enjoyers. So if you're playing Mech, that's how you want to do it, right? And you're probably going to be like, hell yeah, 50-minute game, let's go, okay? All right, so I've got a couple of good trades. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm taking a 5th now. I'm going to go ahead and start trying to be a little more aggressive with my units. And there I've seen with my sensor tower that he's coming for this group of Hellion Cyclone down here. And obviously it's going to die. But I want to get some value out of this. So what do? Well, I know his whole army's down here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Hellion run by up top. At that point, I know all my units are dead. And that's why I look away. Okay, obviously those units are cooked, and there's very little micro you can do to truly extract, infinite value or a bunch of value from that. So I decided to shift my attention to the Hellion run by, because the Hellion run by can actually get way more value, and so that's why I do that. And so then here I'm like, okay, these 2 Cyclones lived. I'm gonna send those back out to to die, obviously, but to just kind of keep being aggressive and keep trading. And again, behind this, yeah, I'm turtling, but I'm taking bases, okay? I'm getting my upgrades, I'm improving my tech, and I'm adjusting my army composition, okay? So now I've kind of shifted to a more tank-centric Mech army, and that's because tanks are really good against Hydras, really good against Roaches, really good against Ravagers, okay? And so if you want to be able to push, you kind of need siege tanks, right? Now this push isn't the best for me. Eventually some Vipers will come out and have 1 Ghost and 1 Thor. And obviously I have a lot of units scattered because I have a lot of units defending multiple bases. But a big thing that you want to take from this, and you can see that Ghost actually low-key clutch there. What you want to take from this is that the spreading of the siege tanks is essential, okay? Really make sure that when you're making those siege lines like that you are adequately spreading out your siege tanks to mitigate the Viper blinding cloud, okay? Extremely, extremely important. There I get a decent trade again. And I have a strong enough economy and I've killed a bunch of drones that I'm not really too worried about this, okay? I think at the end of this game, I killed about 65 drones or something like that. And here I'm continuing to do more damage. And so it's really just a rinse and repeat until eventually they're kind of broke, or they're pretty broke. They'll go for like one last hoorah to try to kill you. In this game, he goes for like Broodlords, okay? And obviously I scouted that. So he goes for the Broodlord push and it doesn't work out, but he doesn't have any money to replace that. Okay, whereas, generally speaking, if you're not harassing or you're not doing economic damage, yeah, he might lose an army like that, but then he can just rebuild it, all right? And that's what you're trying to prevent. That's the scenario you're trying to prevent. Now, I'm not saying doing all this harassment is easy, especially with the Hellions, because you got to keep remembering to send Hellions, but it's going to make your life way easier. And you know what? I will say that eventually, when you start playing better people, they will get better at defending these with spine crawlers and whatnot. Here, he's trying to add those now, but sometimes it doesn't even matter. You can just run in there and kill stuff anyway. There, I sent some Hellbats to kill this base. Okay, probably a little bit too fast. I actually was really trying to play slower in this video, specifically because I knew we were going to be going over it. But I guess I got carried away sometimes. So, yeah, sorry, that part might be a little bit unrealistic. But yeah, obviously, I'm feeling great. Like, I look at that army, I'm like, okay, that army's not really good. I have really good upgrades. I have a strong economy. And I see that there's a spire, a greater spire, but I haven't seen any broodlords. And so here I'm thinking, okay, I think he either doesn't have them, or maybe in the process of building them. But because I've done so much damage, I don't really think he has that many. So I'm okay with pushing this with my 3 Thors. Now, is that an accurate assessment? Maybe not. We'll see. There are some corruptors, obviously. Here I missed my EMPs, but I'm killing the Vipers, and this siege tank spread is definitely helping. And then as they push into me and chase my Thors, they continue to run into more siege tanks, and that's perfect. That's what we want. Here he pulls back. I've pretty much confirmed at that point that there are no broodlords, and clearly I feel really good about my position in the game. I'm also not really worried about a run by, and then there they come, and I'm like, oh shit. Pro tip here, make sure you target fire your siege tanks on the Hydralisk to not shoot your own Thors. That's why my Thors live so long here, actually. Usually siege tanks will just kill your own Thors, but I keep them alive, and I end up being able to kill a couple of these broodlords before they die off. And the queens can't transfuse because they're off creep. Yeah, I just have so much money. I'm gonna keep muling. I have a lot of gas actually, but I also keep scanning instead of muling. So there's that. And then yeah, here I just unsiege everything in. Oh, I'm definitely winning, right? Like you got to think about, okay, I killed so many drones. I'm continuing to win all these trades. I have a lot of these bases. It's fine. My sensor tower did catch a bunch of red blobs towards the bottom right. I end up, and there I see it again. I end up just like kind of F2ing there. You can see me F2 right here. Click on the mini map, move my units there, and then with the rest, I just rebox the army that's pushing, and then I continue to push with it. And then those Hellbats are gonna cook, obviously. And yeah, I mean, at this point, you get a feeling, oh, this person's dead, right? Like they're just continuing to build Hydras and losing them all. Oh, random lag. What happened there? Okay, and then here I kill like all that. I will scan here, and honestly, that's a really good habit to have because you can pretty much, like, if they burrow lings, you can catch it. That's what most people do. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is the first video of a couple of mech videos I'll be doing. Really basic opener that I think pretty much anyone can do. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And there you go, kill a bunch of drones. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Peace.